At exactly 0800 Galactic Standard Time, Earth launched nothing. No missile, no ship, no threat. Dr. Priya Sharma's fingers hovered over her keyboard. The keys were old, worn smooth from 19 years of typing treaty citations, legal briefs, and the quiet horror of watching humans get laughed out of chambers. She had memorized the feel of each key, the way the E stuck sometimes, the way the space bar needed an extra tap. Beside her, Colonel Sarah Veals counted down from 10. 10, 9, 8. Veals didn't look nervous. She looked like a woman who had been waiting for this moment her whole life. Her father had died in the First Contact War. Her mother had raised her on stories of council arrogance. She had joined the military at 17, spent 15 years learning how to break things without firing a shot, and never once doubted that this day would come. 765. Dr. Aris Thorne watched the Quantum Treaty Registry flicker on his screen. One signature, then another, then a cascade. The registry was old, older than the Council, older than space travel, older than any species currently sitting in the Hall of Adjudication. It had been built by a civilization that had died out 10,000 years ago. No one had maintained it properly. No one had checked for vulnerabilities. The humans had. 432. The room smelled like cold coffee and old paper. Someone's hands were shaking. Not Veals, not Thorne. Someone in the back, near the door. A young comms officer named Myra Chen, who had only joined Long Patience 6 months ago. Veals looked at Voss. Execute. The wormhole exploit opened. Not a hack, a void. They didn't break in. They didn't steal anything. They simply proved what had been true for 37 years. The signatures were never valid. The Council never honored humanity. Therefore, no treaties existed. Sharma's screen lit up. Economic treaties, 892, voiding. 4 minutes, 22 seconds. The numbers rolled down like blood from a wound no one could see. Sharma had memorized every one of those treaties during her 19 years inside. Trade agreements, resource allocations, tariff structures that kept 12 species in poverty while the Council grew fat. Treaty 892, Vorkathgel Trade Agreement, signed 1,203 years ago. It allowed the Vorkath to take 87% of all gel agricultural output in exchange for protection. The gel had starved for 12 centuries because of that piece of paper. Voided. Treaty 891, Vorkath Tiskari Mining Rights, signed 847 years ago. It gave the Vorkath exclusive access to Tiskari mineral wealth. The Tiskari had been slaves in everything but name ever since. Voided. Treaty 890, Vorkath Xylian Research Restrictions, signed 421 years ago. It prevented the Xylians from sharing their historical archives with anyone outside the Council. The Xylians knew where every body was buried. They had just never been allowed to tell anyone. Voided. Sharma watched the count drop. 892, 891, 890. Each number was a chain. Each void was a door opening. Her hand stopped shaking. Thorne didn't blink. Military alliances next. Veals nodded. Run it. Military treaties, 211, voiding. 3 minutes, 7 seconds. Alliance networks collapsed. Defense pacts became blank paper. The Vorkath hegemony's war fleet, the largest in Council space, 700 ships, 47 battle groups, 31 support vessels, and a repair station orbiting their homeworld, had no legal right to move through anyone's territory anymore. No one had told them yet. They'd find out soon. Treaty 211, Vorkath Hreth Mutual Defense, signed 2,301 years ago. It required the Hreth to provide military support to any Vorkath offensive. The Hreth hadn't started a war in 6,000 years, but they had died in plenty of them. Voided. Treaty 210, Vorkath Vol Base Rights, signed 1,876 years ago. It gave the Vorkath permission to station troops on Vol worlds. The Vol had asked them to leave 80 times. Each time, the Council said no. Voided. Treaty 209, Vorkath Sorn Conscription Agreement, signed 1,234 years ago. It allowed the Vorkath to recruit Sorn soldiers into their fleet. The Sorn didn't have a word for volunteer in their language. They had a word for taken. Voided. Sharma watched the numbers. 211, 210, 209. Each one was a death sentence for a council general's career. Each one was a door opening for a species that had been trapped. Last batch, Veal said. Territorial claims, 144, voiding. 2 minutes 51 seconds. Border disputes became meaningless. Colony charters vanished. The council's 1,000-year-old map, the one that said this belongs to this species, and that belongs to that one, dissolved into quantum noise. Treaty 144, the Kith Corridor, signed 3,402 years ago. It gave the Vorkath unrestricted access through Kith space. The Kith had to let any Vorkath ship pass, no questions asked. Their children grew up watching warships fly over their homes. Voided. Treaty 143, the Marin Exclusion Zone, signed 2,987 years ago. It forbade the Marin from developing faster-than-light travel. They had been stuck on their homeworld for 3,000 years while everyone else explored the galaxy. Voided. Treaty 142, the Orin Resource Claim, signed 1,765 years ago. It gave the Vorkath ownership of Orin's only asteroid belt. The Orin had to buy back their own metals at council prices. Voided. No one fired a weapon. No one died, but something ended. 11 minutes after execution, Elder S. Sithra's voice broadcast across every channel in the galaxy. The Xylian historian was nearly 2,000 years old. She had watched empires rise. She had watched them fall. She had watched the council become exactly what it had once fought against. She had never sounded scared before. The humans did not fire a weapon, S. Sithra said. They did not kill a single being. They simply pointed out that treaties only matter if both parties honor them. The council never honored humanity. Therefore, no treaties exist. Silence. Then Supreme Arbiter Thraxix's priority channel screamed to life. 17 species. 43 ambassadors, all of them listening. You declared war on the entire galaxy. Thraxix's translator clicked, then stopped clicking. His claws scraped the bronze torque around his neck, a nervous habit, one Voss had noted in her files years ago, one that meant he was terrified. There will be consequences. There will be retaliation. There will be. Ambassador Elena Voss took a sip of tea. She held the cup up to the camera. Chipped blue ceramic. A crack along the rim, a faded hand-painted flower, a daisy, painted by a child's hand 23 years ago, back when her daughter still drew pictures and left them on the kitchen table. No, Arbiter, she said. We just stopped being civilized. She ended the call. You'll want to know how a species with no military erased an empire's treaties in 11 minutes. Stay close. 37 years earlier, the day after the council's first rejection, Voss walked into the Geneva emergency bunker at 3:47 a.m. The kettle was already boiling. Someone had left a plate of cold toast on the scarred wooden table. A clock on the wall ticked too loud. The air smelled like concrete and old coffee, and the particular kind of exhaustion that comes from watching your species get humiliated and being unable to do anything about it. 37 people sat around the table. Generals, scientists, diplomats, engineers, cooks, mechanics, a linguist who had taught herself 17 alien languages just in case, a historian who had memorized every council vote for the past 200 years, all of them waiting. They laughed, Voss said. General Marcus Webb, 71 years old, retired twice, father buried in the Hall of the Forgotten, leaned forward. His toast was cold. He ate it anyway, crunched, swallowed, took a sip of tea. Then we're done waiting, he said. Activate long patience. No one asked what that meant. They already knew. Long patience had begun the day after humanity first saw the Council's true nature. Not a weapon, not a fleet, not a secret base hidden in an asteroid field. A plan. 37 years of watching. 37 years of mapping every treaty, every trade route, every weakness. 37 years of learning exactly where to press, how hard and when. The Council thought humans were irrelevant. That was the mistake. Voss wrapped her hands around her mug. The ceramic was warm. The crack. A hairline fracture from the day her daughter dropped it, years ago, before the first contact accident, before the funeral, before the long silence that followed pressed into her palm. She didn't pull away. The pain was small, familiar, a reminder. Her daughter's name was Myra. She had been 7 years old when she painted the daisy on the mug. 7 years old with yellow paint on her fingers and a smile that could light up a room. She had died at 19. A first contact mission gone wrong. A language barrier. A misunderstanding. A single shot. The council had ruled it an accident. No consequences. No accountability. Just a footnote in a report that no one read. Voss had kept the mug. She had used it every day for 23 years. The crack had never grown. It had just waited. So had she. "Who do we need?" she asked. Dr. Priya Sharma raised her hand. 19 years inside council politics. She had attended 412 sessions. She had watched humans beg, plead, negotiate, compromise, and get laughed out of chambers every single time. She had watched her mentor, a woman named Dr. Alina Akaffer, die of a stress-related heart attack at 53, right after the council rejected a humanitarian aid proposal that would have saved 2 million lives. Sharma knew every treaty, every loophole, every ambassador's secret. She knew which species were unhappy, which ones were desperate, which ones were one bad vote away from rebellion. "The Council has 1,247 active treaties," Sharma said. She pulled up a holographic map. Red lines crisscrossed the galaxy like a spiderweb. Of those, 892 are economic, 211 are military alliances, 144 are territorial. She zoomed in on the Vorkath hegemony sector. A dense knot of red lines, each one a chain holding another species in place. "We can't fight them ship to ship, but we don't need to." Colonel Sarah Veal stood next. Cyber warfare, orbital defense, asymmetric conflict. She had spent 15 years figuring out how to break things without firing a shot. Her father had died in the first contact war. Her mother had raised her on stories of council arrogance. She had joined the military at 17, been promoted at 22, and spent the next decade training for a war that everyone knew Earth couldn't win. "If we can access the quantum registry," Veal said, "we don't hack it, we void it." The signatures were never valid because they never honored us. She pulled up a schematic. Blue light traced the edges of the council's treaty network. "It's all connected. Trade depends on military. Military depends on territory. Territory depends on trade. Cut one, the others follow. We hit the economic treaties first, they're the easiest to access. The military treaties are harder, but once the economic ones fall, the military ones lose their funding. And the territorial ones, they're just paper. Without enforcement, they mean nothing." Dr. Aris Thorne, wormhole economics, theoretical physics, and a grudge against the council that went back to his graduate thesis, nodded slowly. "The math works," he said. "The exploit exists, we just need to find it." He tapped his screen. Numbers rolled past too fast to read. Thorne had been working on this problem for 12 years. His graduate thesis had been about quantum signature authentication. He had discovered the vulnerability by accident, a flaw in the way the registry verified signatures. He had spent a decade making sure the flaw was real, and 2 more years figuring out how to exploit it without anyone noticing. The quantum registry is old, older than the council itself. The signatures were added over thousands of years. Some of them were never properly verified. He looked up. They assumed no one would check. Webb picked up another slice of cold toast, bit into it, crunched. "Find it," he said. Not a question, not a request, an order. Voss looked at her mug. The crack hadn't grown. It had just waited. So had she. Long patience wasn't a military buildup. It was something smarter. Over the next 90 minutes, Voss assembled the team. Sharma would map the treaties, every single one in order, ranked by vulnerability, cross-referenced by species, categorized by economic impact. She would work through the night, through the next day, through the week. She would not sleep until the list was perfect. Veals would build the access protocols, the wormhole exploit that would let them touch the quantum registry without tripping alarms. She would test it 1,000 times. She would fail 999 times. She would not stop until the 1,000th try worked. Thorne would run the calculations, verify the math, make sure the voiding didn't accidentally erase something humans actually needed. He would check every number, every signature, every possible edge case. He would drive himself half mad with precision. That was fine. That was how he worked best. A young comms officer named Myra Chen, no relation to Voss's daughter, but the name still caught in Voss's throat every time she said it, started drafting the broadcast. The one that would go out after the voiding. The one that would tell the galaxy what humans had done. She wrote 17 versions before she got the tone right. Not triumphant, not vengeful, just factual. This happened. This is why. This is what comes next. And Webb ate his toast. Small rituals before ending galactic civilization. The Council has 73,000 years of recorded history, Sharma said, scrolling through her files. The Vorkath have held power for 11,000 of those years. They've never lost a vote. They've never been challenged. They've never even been argued with. She looked up. They're going to panic. Veal smiled. Good. Thorne ran the numbers again. The voiding will take approximately 11 minutes. Economic treaties first, they're the easiest to access. Then military, then territorial. He paused. After that, the Council's legal framework collapses, trade stops, alliances end, borders reopen. There will be chaos, there will be suffering. There will be people who take advantage of the confusion. How long until someone gets hurt? Voss asked. Thorne shook his head. That's the question. The voiding itself is bloodless, but what happens after? No one answered. The kettle boiled. Long patience had begun 37 years ago, the day after humanity first saw the Council's true nature. Voss had been 28 then, a junior diplomat fresh from Earth, full of hope. She had spent 6 months preparing the peace treaty, 847 pages, every detail, every concession, every possible objection addressed in advance. She had thought that if she was thorough enough, careful enough, humble enough, the Council would have to listen. She had been wrong. Thraxix, younger then, less scarred, just as cruel, had dropped the treaty on the floor without reading a single page. The Council had laughed. 17 species, 43 ambassadors, all of them laughing at her, at Earth, at humanity. She had gathered the pages from the floor, 847 pages, picked up one by one, while the laughter echoed off the pale blue stone walls. That night she sent a message to Geneva. They will never listen. We need another way. The reply came 12 hours later. How long can you wait? She wrote back. As long as it takes. Across the galaxy, 12 species had been waiting for someone to ask the right question. Elder S. Sithra contacted Voss on a private channel 3 weeks after long patience was activated. The Xylian's 4 eyes blinked slowly. Her voice was old, older than human civilization, older than the Council, older than any species currently sitting in the Hall of Adjudication. She had watched empires rise. She had watched them fall. She had watched the Council become exactly what it had once fought against. Your species survived 14 extinction-level events, S. Sithra said. You turned deserts into cities. You cured 47 plagues. You walked on your own moon before you learned to stop killing each other. And you did it alone. The Council fears you because they don't understand you. Voss stared at the screen. Then help us. As Sithra closed her eyes. I already have. I sent you the Treaty Vulnerability Index. All 1,247 of them. She paused. Use them well. The Xylians were the first to defect from Council consensus. Their ambassador, a young historian named S. Sithra's granddaughter, bright-eyed and fierce, with the same slow blink and old soul voice, contacted Voss the next day. My grandmother says you're going to break the Council. Not break, Voss said, void. The Xylian smiled. Same thing. Then came the Tiskari, 6-limbed miners, exploited for 600 years. Their homeworld's resources had been stripped to build Council warships. Their children worked the same mines their great-grandparents had died in. Their average lifespan was 47 years. The Council's average lifespan was 212. The Tiskari ambassador didn't speak for 30 seconds after Voss explained the plan. Then she laughed. Not like Thraxix, like someone who had finally heard the starting gun. "We're in," she said. Then the gel. Famine refugees. The council had let their homeworld burn, 3 billion dead, a preventable catastrophe. The council had called it an unfortunate resource reallocation. Earth had called it murder. Earth had sent food. Earth had sent medicine. Earth had sent ships to evacuate anyone who could still be saved. The gel never forgot. "We owe you," their ambassador said. Her hands still shook from the hunger years. Her eyes were too old for her face. "Tell us what to do." Voss shook her head. "I'm not asking you to fight. I'm asking you to stop complying." The gel ambassador tilted her head. "Stop complying," she repeated. "That's all. That's all." She thought about it for a long moment. The room was quiet. The kettle was warm. "We can do that." The HFY joined next. Then the Vol, the Sorn, the Kith, the Marin, the Orin, the Ith. 12 species total. All of them crushed under council rule. All of them waiting for someone to show them a way out that didn't require bleeding in the dark. Voss served tea to every ambassador. The Tiskari drank it boiling, the hotter the better. Their ambassador took 3 cups before the meeting even started. "We have a saying," she said. "If it doesn't burn, it isn't real." The gel added honey, 2 spoonfuls exactly. A ritual from the refugee camps, where honey was the only sweetness they could afford. "My mother taught me," the ambassador said. "She said honey makes everything bearable." The HFY just held the warm cups, marveling at human ritual. Their homeworld was cold. They had never learned to make things hot just for comfort. "This is nice," their ambassador said. "Just holding something warm, not for any reason, just because. No speeches, no bargains, no threats. Just tea. When this is over," the gel ambassador said, "teach us how to make this." Voss smiled. "Deal." The HFY ambassador raised his cup. "To patience." The Tiskari ambassador raised hers. "To revenge." The Xylian ambassador, young, fierce, grandmother's fire in her eyes, raised hers last. "To the end of laughter." Voss looked around the table. 12 species, 12 cups, 1 plan. She raised her own mug. Chipped blue ceramic, crack along the rim, faded daisy. "To the end," she said. They drank. Outside, the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The wormhole exploit was ready 3 months later. Thorne ran the final calculation at 2:17 a.m. The bunker was quiet. Someone had left a mug on his desk, cold tea, crack along the rim, Voss's handwriting on a sticky note. "Don't stay up too late." He ignored the note. The numbers worked. He called Voss. "We can do it tomorrow if we want." Silence on the line. Then, "No, we wait." Wait for what? The right moment. The right moment came 6 months after that. Sharma found the opening. A routine council session. All 17 species present. Thraxics would be there. The media would be there. Every treaty registry access point would be open for maintenance. A window they could use. "Tuesday at 08:00 GST, Sharma said. "We have 11 minutes before the maintenance window closes." Veals nodded. "That's enough." Thorne ran the numbers one more time. "It's enough." Webb looked at Voss. "Your call." Voss wrapped her hands around her mug. The crack pressed into her palm. "Tuesday," she said. 08:00 GST. The night before, Voss walked through the Hall of the Forgotten. 47,231 names carved into stone walls. Pre-FTL war dead. Humans who died before anyone knew there was a galaxy beyond their own sky. She found her grandmother's name. 3rd row left side near the bottom. Elena Maria Voss, died 2047, age 63. Beside it, Webb's father, Marcus Webb SR, died 2039, age 41. Sharma's great uncle, Rajiv Sharma, died 2055, age 22. Voss touched the stone. It was cold, older than the council, older than space travel, older than any treaty the galaxy had ever written. "We're almost there," she whispered. "We finished what you started." No one answered. The hall was quiet, the kind of quiet that comes after a long war, when the guns stop firing and the soldiers go home, and the only thing left is stone and names, and the memory of people who never got to see the peace they died for. Voss stayed for 23 minutes. She read 23 names aloud. "Let the echoes die. Elena Maria Voss." Marcus Webb Sr., Rajiv Sharma, Sophia Chen, David Oduya, Fatima Al-Jamil, William Brennan, Priya Khatri, Samuel Osai, Amara Tanaka, Kenji Wei, Maria Santos, Elias Thorne, Quaim Voss, Jin Calder, Thomas Reyes, Zara Nakamura, Paul Amadi, Myra Dietrich, Ilara Okonkwo, Samuel Zhang, Amos Burke, Aisha Solen. 23 names. 23 candles lit somewhere in the bunker, where Webb was waiting with cold toast and the kettle already boiling. She touched the stone one more time. "Thank you," she said. Then she walked out. Tuesday, 07:30 GST. The bunker was packed. 37 people stood around the scarred wooden table. No one sat. No one spoke. The air smelled like coffee and old paper and the kind of fear that comes right before something big. Not the bad fear. The other kind. The one that feels like standing on the edge of a cliff and knowing you're about to fly. Voss checked her watch. 30 minutes. Sharma ran through the sequence one last time. Her voice was steady. 19 years inside council politics. 19 years of watching humans beg. She had waited for this moment longer than anyone in the room except Voss herself. Economic treaties first, then military, then territorial. The voiding will be simultaneous across all 1,247 signatures. The quantum registry won't register the change for approximately 3 seconds, then it will cascade. 3 seconds, Veals repeated. That's the window where they could stop us. They can't stop us, Thorne said. He hadn't slept in 48 hours. His eyes were red. His hands were steady. The exploit doesn't require access permission. It just requires existence. The signatures are there. We void them. No one has to let us in. Voss looked at her mug. The crack hadn't grown. It had just waited. 20 minutes, Webb said. 07:45 GST. 15 minutes. Sharma was pacing. Veals was checking her equipment. Thorne was staring at his screen like he could will the numbers to be perfect. Webb was eating toast. Voss watched him. How do you do that? Do what? Eat right now. Webb looked at the toast in his hand. Cold, buttered, cut in half diagonally the way his father had always cut it. My father used to say that fear and hunger feel the same, he said. Your stomach doesn't know the difference. So when you're scared, eat. Your body will figure out the rest. He offered her a piece. She took it. They ate in silence. 07:52 GST. 8 minutes. Thorne's screen flickered. Registry access points are open. Maintenance windows started early. Veals looked at Voss. Do we wait or go? Voss thought about the Hall of the Forgotten. Her grandmother's name. Webb's father. Sharma's great-uncle. 23 candles. 23 names. 47,231 reasons. Go, she said. 07:53 GST. Sharma's fingers touched the keyboard. She had practiced this moment 10,000 times, in her head, in her dreams. In the dark when she couldn't sleep and the fear felt like drowning. Her fingers remembered. Veals counted down from 10. 10, 9, 8. Thorne watched the quantum registry. The signatures were there. 1,247 of them, each one a chain holding a species in place. 7, 6, 5. Webb ate another piece of toast, crunched, swallowed. The sound was loud in the quiet room. 4, 3, 2. Voss raised her mug, not a toast, a goodbye. To the laughter, to the dropped treaties, to the 37 years of waiting. Execute. The wormhole exploit opened. Sharma's screen lit up. Economic treaties, 892, voiding. 4 minutes, 22 seconds. The numbers rolled down. 892, 891, 890. Thorne watched the quantum registry ripple. One signature gone, then 10, then 100. Sharma had memorized every single one of those treaties. Trade agreements, resource allocations, tariff structures that kept 12 species in poverty while the council grew fat. All of them gone. She watched the count drop. 892, 891, 890. Her hands stopped shaking. Military treaties, 211, voiding. 3 minutes, 7 seconds. Alliance networks collapsed. Defense pacts became blank paper. The Vorkath hegemony's war fleet, 700 ships, 47 battle groups, 31 support vessels, had no legal right to move through anyone's territory anymore. No one had told them yet. They'd find out soon. Sharma watched the numbers: 211, 210, 209. Each one was a death sentence for a council general's career. Each one was a door opening for a species that had been trapped. Territorial claims: 144, voiding. 2 minutes 51 seconds. Border disputes became meaningless. Colony charters vanished. The council's 1,000-year-old map, the one that said this belongs to this species, and that belongs to that one, dissolved into quantum noise. No one fired a weapon. No one died. But something ended. 8 minutes, 20 seconds after execution, Elder S. Sithra's voice broadcast across every channel in the galaxy. The Xylian historian was nearly 2,000 years old. She had watched empires rise. She had watched them fall. She had watched the council become exactly what it had once fought against. She had never sounded scared before. The humans did not fire a weapon, S. Sithra said. They did not kill a single being. They simply pointed out that treaties only matter if both parties honor them. The council never honored humanity. Therefore, no treaties exist. Silence. Then Supreme Arbiter Thraxix's priority channel screamed to life. 17 species, 43 ambassadors, all of them listening. You declared war on the entire galaxy. Thraxix's translator clicked, then stopped clicking. His claws scraped the bronze torque around his neck. A nervous habit, one Voss had noted in her files years ago, one that meant he was terrified. There will be consequences. There will be retaliation. There will be. Ambassador Elena Voss took a sip of tea. She held the cup up to the camera. Chipped blue ceramic, a crack along the rim, a faded hand-painted flower, a daisy, painted by a child's hand 23 years ago. No, Arbiter, she said. We just stopped being civilized. She ended the call. The bunker was quiet. Someone's hands were shaking. It took a moment to realize they were Voss's. Webb put a hand on her shoulder. It's done. She looked at her mug. The tea was still warm. Is it? In the hall of adjudication, 17 species sat in silence. The council chamber was designed to humble. Pale blue stone rose 40 meters to a ceiling lost in shadow. The elevated rings where council members sat, looking down at petitioners like spectators at a zoo, were empty. No one knew what to do. Thraxix stood alone on the lowered platform, the same platform where he had laughed at humans, where he had dropped the 847-page treaty on the floor, where he had told Voss that humanity had no military, no economy, no allies, and no future. His claws scratched his torque, scratched and scratched and scratched. Someone call the humans, he said. No one moved. Call them. A junior aide whispered. There are no treaties anymore. We don't have their contact information. It was in the economic section. Thraxix's translator clicked. Then it stopped clicking. Somewhere in the chaos, a secondary thread began to unspool. Sharma noticed it first. A flicker on the quantum registry, a signature that shouldn't have been there. Voss, she said, look at this. Voss walked over. What is it? There's a 1248th treaty. Hidden. Buried so deep that even the council didn't know about it. What does it say? Sharma read it. Her face went pale. It says, the Vorkath hegemony has a contingency plan. If the treaty network collapses, they have the authority to declare martial law across all 17 species. Voss stared at the screen. How long until they activate it? Sharma checked the timestamps. 72 hours, maybe less. The secondary thread pulled tight. Veals ran the numbers. If they declare martial law, the coalition falls apart. The Gel go back to starving. The Tiskari go back to the mines. Everything we just did, gone. Thorne pulled up the hidden treaty. There's a loophole. The martial law clause only activates if the council formally requests it. If the request never comes, then we stop it before it starts, Voss said. How? Voss looked at her mug. We call Thraxix. He answered on the first ring. Ambassador. His voice was different, quieter. The translator didn't click. Arbiter, we found the hidden treaty. Silence. The martial law clause, Voss continued. 72 hours. You declare, and the galaxy goes back to the way it was. You don't declare and the galaxy learns to breathe without you. Thraxix's claws scraped his torque. What do you want? Nothing. I want nothing. I'm telling you what happens next. You can be the species that declared martial law and killed the galaxy's first real peace. Or you can be the species that stepped aside. And if I choose neither. Voss took a sip of tea. Then we erase the hidden treaty too, and we tell everyone why. Thraxix called back 7 hours later. The Vorkath hegemony will not declare martial law. Voss waited. We will step aside. She nodded. No one could see her. The galaxy will remember that. Will they? Voss looked at her mug. The crack hadn't grown. Yes, she said, they will. 3 days later, the council held an emergency session. No treaties, no alliances, no map. Just 17 species sitting in a circle, looking at each other like they had never really seen anyone before. The Xylians spoke first. We propose a new agreement. No trade requirements. No military obligations. Just a promise to talk before anyone does anything stupid. The Gel laughed. That's not a treaty, that's a conversation. The Tiskari ambassador raised her hand. We'll take it. One by one, the species agreed. Not a treaty, a conversation. Voss watched from Earth. The broadcast was grainy. The sound was bad. The translator kept glitching. It was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. Webb sat beside her. Cold toast on a plate between them. The kettle was boiling somewhere in the back of the room. They're talking, he said. They're talking. No one's laughing. Voss smiled. No, she said. No one's laughing. 6 months later, Voss stood in the bunker one last time. The scarred wooden table was being moved to a museum. Someone had already taken the kettle. The mugs were packed in boxes. Sharma had gone back to treaty work, helping species rebuild their legal frameworks from scratch, but different this time. No exploitation, no hidden clauses, no martial law contingencies. Veals had been promoted. She was designing new defense protocols, non-violent ones. The council had asked her to teach a class on asymmetric conflict resolution. She had laughed for 3 minutes straight. Thorne was teaching at a university, wormhole economics. His students called him the man who broke the galaxy. He hated the nickname, but he kept the mug. Webb had gone home, retired again, 3rd time. He said it was the last one. No one believed him. Voss picked up her mug. Chipped blue ceramic, crack along the rim, faded flour. She poured cold tea into the sink, rinsed the mug, dried it with a cloth. Then she set it on the shelf. The crack hadn't grown. It had just waited. She walked out of the bunker. The lights turned off behind her one by one. The door closed with a soft click that echoed down the empty hallway. Outside, the sun was rising over Geneva, the same sun that had risen over her grandmother, over Webb's father, over Sharma's great uncle, over everyone who had died before they knew there was a galaxy worth saving. Voss didn't look back. The crack hadn't grown. It had just waited. And now it didn't have to anymore. She walked toward the rising sun, hands in her pockets, no mug, no tea, no bunker behind her. Just the road ahead, and the names in her memory, and the quiet knowledge that somewhere, in a galaxy far away, 17 species were learning to talk to each other without someone telling them who to trade with. The Gel were planting gardens. The Tiskari were keeping their own resources. The Xylians were writing a new history, one that included the humans who had refused to laugh back. And in a small museum in Geneva, behind a glass case, a chipped blue ceramic mug sat on a shelf. The crack hadn't grown. It had just waited. And now neither would anyone else.